road to PyeongChang continues in the most historic sliding venue of them all, St. Moritz in Switzerland, for round 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's Two-Man Bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside at one of the greatest sporting venues planet Earth has ever known.
Certainly one of the most historic, and the competitions here are legendary. Justin Cripps, the World Cup leader, Jesse Lumsden, they post a great start time. They were 8th ones out of the box. They come down the track cleanly, great speeds. Cripps, as he's been doing all season, challenging for another podium. 600th from the top spot. He's chasing down Nico Walter and Christian Poser. They only had the 15th best start in the first run, but no one had better speeds down the track than Nico Walter, the former luge athlete from Saxony. He posts a great time. He started 14th. He's only 400ths off the lead. They're tracing down Francesco Friedrich, Thorsten Marcus, almost the best starts in the competition. They went 7th. They went earliest of the teams. But Friedrich, who won a world championships, the first of his 4 consecutive on this track. He flies down the track, one of the many track records. He's the best time so far in run 1, and Martin, it's close.
It is close, look at that. Top 4 covered by 800s, and behind them Stolnev probably out of the medals, but look how close it is behind them. And that's not confined to the top 9. Those tiny gaps between the athletes meander all the way down to the bottom of the top 20. It is going to be an epic race. And in 19th place, Lucas Matter and David Mari from Australia, the final sled on the ice. They make the cut on their World Cup debut in a borrowed sled, and the irony is that the team they borrowed it from, the Dutch, do not make the cut. So there is Nico Walter, winner of the season opener in the two-man, and still right towards the top of the two-man rankings with the bronze medal last weekend. Chris Spring feeling no pain at all this weekend. He loaned his sled to Canada's 3rd driver, Christine de Bruyne, who managed to qualify a 3rd sled for the Games in the women's race this morning. So there's all sorts of combinations of trying to get qualified, trying to get more sleds qualified. You know, the 4 years of build up to the Games basically comes down to the last couple of weekends, as always. Beyond that, of course, the one race that everybody wants to win is their home race, if there is one, and then St. Moritz. If you can say, I won a bobsleigh race in St. Moritz, everyone on the planet knows the name. Cody Basque will go off first. He was tied 20th with Marcus Treichel, so there are actually 21 sleds in the field. Then the Aussies follow them, working down through our order until we get to the top 4. Lochner, Cripps, Walter and Friedrich, and they will battle for the medals. Lochner, last year's winner, and Friedrich, the winner here in the Worlds in 2013. So they have both got history on this track. What a fabulous venue to come sliding on. But for the athletes now, time to focus on the 1,720 meters of the historic St. Moritz track. 7th race of the two-man bobsleigh, final heat about to get underway. Cody Basque and Stephen Langton kick off the competition.
To me, a very disappointing 5:18 in the first run, the 15th best start. But Langton, one of the best brakemen in the world, 5:16. The velocity, keep track of that velocity in your left. That was straight here. Cody back in this 19th position. Should be better than that. His teammate Alana Myers, she went out and won her first World Cup race of the year this morning here on this historic track. And Martin, historic about it, the names and the curves. This is Sonny. Ooh, big hit out of Sonny. That's a mistake. Nash and Dixon. Now this horseshoe curve. This is over 100 years ago they gave this curve that name, horseshoe. 104.9. Keep track of that speed.
That's 65.2 miles an hour on sheet ice through the forest. And the speed starts to really build now. These fast 4 right-handers.
Ooh, another tap, but a lot of people have been tapping there on the Exeter Bridge. 142.8, that's 88.7 miles an hour. We saw 90-mile-an-hour speeds in the first run. 106.25, only 700s better. Look at the coaches. The expression on their faces will tell you they shouldn't have their sled back here in this position.
Yeah, should be a little more to come. Bronze and gold in the season openers. in the two-man World Cup for Cody Basque.
But he didn't have the 15th best start time back then.
No.
You know, it's...
In Europe, his best result was 7th in Innsbruck just before Christmas.
This is out of Sonny. Now, this is a pretty huge mistake when he hit hard up when you're still accelerating. This is in between Sonny to Nash and Dixon. This hit here, though, you're going to see a lot of people tap there, and he taps nicely without steering away at 75-mile-an-hour speeds.
Lots to think about for the boy from Whitehall, New York. And he was tied to the 100th of a second in the first heat with Austria's Markus Treichel. Looks as though the Austrians will qualify 2 sleds to go to the games, so Markus Treichel will be the second of those, joining teammate Benny Meyer, we believe.
Treichel, 13th best start, not bad. I mean, this is only the real first complete season. Oh, push bar, brand new Walder sled finally comes in. No velocity here.
Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. Yeah.
And he's a big boy. He's a 6'1", 6'2" boy. He's down there. You can't see the brakeman. I'll keep telling you. Can you see the brakeman back there? No. Good aerodynamic profile by the brakeman. We saw a couple sleds in the first heat that I would say was deplorable, especially out of the Russia 3 sled. Looked like a taxi bob rider.
Treichel out of Nash and Dixon, ping-ponging his way down into Horseshoe. Through Telephone, the right-hander, followed by Shamrock, 105, much better speed.
Green numbers. Same exact start as Basque, but he's got a 10th in hand.
They were tied to the 100th at the end of the first run. They were only 3 sleds apart.
Clean here, too. Boy, 143.8.
Kilometre an hour faster.
Fast, full kilometer, full. Almost a mile an hour, half a mile an hour faster than Basque. 106.01, 3,100's better. So that's pretty good for this aspiring rookie, Markus Treichel.
Yeah, Treichel's only done 3 World Cup races this season. Didn't come to North America. He stayed on the second tier of sliding, the European Cup. So he's had a 23rd, what has he had? Beg your pardon, a 21st, a 17th, an 18th. And now he'll be no worse than, well, 20th, because there are 21 sleds in the heat.
Well, he beat Basque.
Yeah, so Basque will be 21st at the moment.
Yeah.
So they were tied for 19th, then they both got beaten by the Aussies, the final sled down, and it is the Aussies who come up next. But Austria lead at the moment.
Okay, no mistakes allowed up here. There's a tap. Sonny into Nash. Not as bad as you've seen a couple other slides. That's a low line in Horseshoe. You're going to see the top lines, fast lines, will be up near the wood.
He didn't have the entry into Horseshoe he needed to get the height. Well, it was a big debut for the Aussies. Lucas Matter, David Mari, you can see their teammates behind who'll go in the 4-man tomorrow. And they made the heat. This is their first ever World Cup race with Lucas as a driver. Borrowed sled from the Dutch, Ivo de Bruyne didn't make the heat. Little rattle there, but a 5:24 getaway. That's a fraction slower than their first heat.
So Saturday they're in Lake Placid. They get a call from the head of the Austrian Bobsleigh Federation saying, hey, the Olympic selection process is you guys got to have a World Cup result. They said, what? I mean, they're on the America's Cup, Europa Cup. And so they scrambled, got in an airplane, flew over here, borrowed equipment. Here they are. He's in his first World Cup race. He's been down the track before, but as a rider, not as a driver. So hats off for him to scramble to even get in this position.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time he was in St. Moritz with Heath Spence when he was a brakeman. That's probably 4 or 5 years ago. Now been driving for the last couple of seasons, so Stig dropping to 3rd place at the moment behind Treichel and Basque, and that's down to experience, that consistency.
Yeah, and he's the last man down in the first heat on this track. The last guy down's got the biggest advantage on this natural ice.
Little skiddy, but then, you know, this is only his 7th trip at all down the track.
Really?
Well, he gets it finished.
106.74. That's a full half-second slower.
Doesn't matter. He qualified for the heat. He's in.
Got to believe they got to send him now. World Cup result.
Yeah. Well, he's done enough to qualify on points, but there was something in there in their national Olympic selection meant he had to have a World Cup result. So he's got that.
We've been talking about that national Olympic selection in skeleton, and you know, sometimes it's not fair to the athletes who've come out here and given so much of their time, their own money most of the time. And here's a borrowed sled. He's got probably 4 trips, never been down the track as a driver. Well, that's a personal best no matter what for that guy.
Yeah, and he owns the Dutch a couple of beers now. Clemens Bracker, Mikkel Cronin. Bracker, the Swiss champion in two-man bobsleigh just a couple of weeks ago before New Year. And he made a big mistake in his second run there. Swiss were talking to him last night, the Swiss journalist. He said, yeah, no, I know, I've got it sorted.
Swiss journalists were pretty angry outside here after the first heat.
Made a horrendous mistake in the first heat. Off the very first dink, didn't try and correct it, and cost him a dozen places probably.
5.11 in the first run. Much better, 5.14. He might have said, I'm going to get in a step quicker to avoid the big mistake. 56.8, keep track of the velocity.
Well, that's what Lolo Jones told us in the second heat in the women's race, to get in a step earlier to make sure the sled was stable in that first corner.
You can't be switching your weight, getting in the sled around that little chink curve. Causes a lot of problems for a lot of people's times at the bottom.
Now don't forget, his first ever World Cup race, one of only two he started up until here. He won, and he's got a gold and a bronze out of his only 2 World Cup starts in two-man, so he should be way up the order here.
He could move up 4 or 5 sleds here, but doesn't have that good a time. 105.7, good speed. He should accelerate away now. Everybody forgets the German coach, Christoph Lange, 2 years ago, took over the Swiss program. You don't see much of him, but I'll guarantee you, his tricks of the trade in rudders and sleds and setup have been transferred to these young Swiss athletes. Swiss girls this morning finished 5th and 6th, their best results in 2 Olympic quadrennials.
Yeah. So Clemens Bracker takes the lead by 1900.
That wasn't that great a run either. It was only 2400s better. I expected him to do better than that.
Well, that would be 13th, 14th as opposed to 18th in the first heat.
Still, that wasn't what we saw out of him in Winterberg and
That's
Innsbruck.
not redemption by anybody's judgment, is it?
No, and he's on his home track. Excellent equipment. There's the horseshoe slingshot to the bottom. Watch the... You'll see the sleds come in and out of there. Look at him. Well, you can tell he's not a happy camper.
Don't need us to tell you anything, do you? Next up, Brad Hall and Joel Fearon. And Brad Hall looking to paint himself into a 2-man and a 4-man spot for the Winter Olympic Games.
Well, if we can see his hand still has those big scars on it.
A big shout out to teammate Bruce Tasker back home. He was recovering from groin and hip injuries, and then he had a minor stroke a week or so ago. And we understand he will make a full recovery, but he's been ruled out of competing in PyeongChang.
Hey, and Bruce Tasker, trust us, the sport needs you, buddy. Get healthy.
Joel Fearon on the back handles.
Quick. Push bar, watch out if it hits the wall. Oh, he waited for the push bar, it's still not down. There. He was smart not to try and put it down. It would have hit the wall.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen. 56.5.
Get straight, get settled.
Very good velocity, 0.3 of a kilometer down of velocity, even though they had a better start than the Swiss. That might have been related to that push bar looming. 400's back.
All right, so this is behind Swiss champion Clemens Bracker.
And Brad Hall was the second guy out of the box today. Not a very good advantage on this track.
No, real deficit.
6.
He's the only one of the top 4 sleds that made it into the run.
Not the speed of the Swiss.
But only 600s behind. If he keeps the line neat and tidy, he's got a chance to take the lead away from Clemens Bracker. Needs speed at the bottom in the 143s. What's he got? 143.1, same as Bracker, so it'll be the same distance at the line.
1200's back, 14.
And he slips a spot. Clemens Bracker moves up 1. Oh, look, he's jubilant at that. Well, Lee Johnson will take that.
Well, considering that Brad came out of the box in the second sled, you know, just moves on. This guy's made tremendous improvement. He's a great athlete. You see his hand. I don't know which. I think it's the
left hand.
Left hand. Yeah. Still got swelling. I mean, the scar tissue on there. Horrific injury last year. I didn't like his last 2 steps into the sled there. And then they took the bump when Joel was still in. You're still seeing Joel's shoulders there.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to wriggle in on that straight because that's what causes the skids.
You don't see the shoulders as much there.
He was waiting until they got a little more speed on before he
tucked
moved.
himself in.
All right, well, they slip a spot. Clemens Bracker is the leader. 5 sleds down, 15 to go in St. Moritz. 16th after the first heat in St. Moritz, Switzerland. Alexander Kazyanov and Alexei Pushkarev. Lots of support from their teammates at ground level. And up on the balcony in the red Russian shirts, those are the Paralympic cross-country team from Russia who are here doing some pre-Olympic training as well.
Now look at, you can't even see the brakeman here. Look how good he's tucked in there. In the first heat, we were complaining about Andrianov, the Russian 3 guy who all you could see was the shoulders back there. That's a perfect aerodynamic profile there.
Alexei Pushkarev is their #1 brakeman, so if he hasn't got the moves,
skid.
nobody has.
Well, Kazanov just has...
Ooh, another skid and snake, same and
starts.
off snake into sunny, same as in the first heat.
Just deplorable starts for this excellent driver who's won a 4-man event this year, medal and a couple others.
Yep.
900's back, 105.7. That's right on the bubble for speed. I don't know. If he loses more time here, it's going to be Bracker. Yeah, he's lost more time. I can't see him getting this back in the bottom.
Well, he's currently only 3rd on the split, so he needs a good run down this final straight into Martineau and Portago. 144, that's a kilometre an hour quicker than the last 2 sleds.
miles an hour, single digits to
Could
the
take the lead. Oh, he ties.
See that speed on the bottom? Brought it back.
That's the Valna sled, always quick here in St. Moritz.
I always like to say it's not the arrow, it's the archer.
Yeah.
This is a good archer here.
Well, he had the right line, but if the sled's not aerodynamic at those speeds, you see it. The Valna sleds have
the arrow
always
definitely
been quick.
helps, but the archer here made some problems up top. He steered around there in the first run like that too.
It's out of snake where he gets a skid. Look at that
this
as
is
well.
Out of wall there.
Yeah.
Into the first part of the snake, and then you're late there. Look, he's early. You see the head.
See it sliding up the hill there, slides off.
Here, I like the line. Look at the rudder tips. He just feathers it off there. Slides into not the best speed that we usually see him get.
Alexander Kazyanov, our leader, and Alexander Kazyanov of Russia, our leader. Next up is Oskars Melbardis, Damas Dreskens. Melbardis a week ago in Altenburg was sitting in the sled in the 2-man. He's got a big thigh injury, and he is still definitely not quick. Enough strength now to push, but not to push the way that they used to push.
These 2 big monsters used to have the best starts on every track. Now they're in the twilight of their career, the 2 of them. And Dreskens, let's see him adjust, get down there low. He's the biggest man on the brakes in the competition. Can you see him back there?
Only just, but you saw the way he wriggled down slowly, tiny movements.
Yeah. And it's, you know, talk about air. Well, this is a super speedway. You know, last week we were on a track which we could equal to Darlington, a track too tough to tame. Here, this is like Talladega or Daytona. This is a super speedway. You need every 100th of a second, as we saw with the last 2 sleds down tied to the 100th.
Well, Melbardis, the winner here in 2-man 3 years ago. Ugu Salims took silver, his teammate, tied with Bert Hefty.
You can see this being the leader, but this guy shouldn't be back here in this placing. He should be up challenging for the top 5.
Yeah. Former winner in 2 and 4-man. He ought to be up at the top, but he's just not strong enough at the moment.
144.1, 89.5. We'll see 90-mile-an-hour speeds before we're done here today. 105.90, so he's 1,300s better. The tied for 100 team, and the Swiss and the Russians wave goodbye. And now we have a Latvian in the leader's box. 2 biggest men in the field. They're both average about 200. One's 240, others about 250. They don't run like they used to. And look at the rudder tips here. Not comfortable. A little wave out of that wall. A lot of problems up there in that wall curve all day. That tap down there out of bridge is what we've seen. That's at 83 miles an hour or so.
You see how cold it is out, still steaming like racehorses, like the thoroughbreds that they are.
Come on.
Justin Olson of the USA, 6th fastest start, 14th at the end of the run with Evan Weinstock. Went in the middle of the field, 17th of the 25 starters.
Weinstock, another decathlete out of Brown University. They only had a 5:09 in the first run, the 6th best start. I thought they'd be better. And quick, Weinstock is this time. And Olson, 5:09 again. The velocity, 57.5, excellent. Olson, you know, he's still not the driver. He needs more trips, but the start times he gets gives him a chance. There's a wave out of the wall curve. Clean. Now watch kind of line. Does he get up high here near the wood? Yes, dive. 106 speed is the optimum speed. 105, look at that speed, is a kilometer down, so that 2200 should come back. Here it comes. Now it's going to be a dogfight down here. Going to need 89-mile-an-hour speeds to have a chance to keep his lead on the Latvians. 300s, 143.2. Not the speed the Latvians. It's going to go either way. 100, 400s. So when you saw the speed he had on the exit of Horseshoe, you knew he was in trouble. 106 is what the Latvians had. He was a kilometer down, about 6/10 of a mile an hour. And this didn't help. This is out of wall, but there's a lot of experienced pilots having that problem out of wall. And then watch the climb, watch the runners. So you can see that little change of direction there, and then into the slingshot effect down to the bottom. And here's where everybody hits. It's just a question. Well, he didn't really hit there at bridge. Another day at the office for Justin Olson.
Frustrating one as well for Olson. Well, next up is Benny Meyer of Austria with Kilian Walch behind him. An irregular two-man brakeman behind him. Yeah, often uses Marcus Sammer, but they're now starting to get into that bit where you just give your #1 guy a bit of a rest.
This guy Walch is 20 years old.
Yeah.
Meyer, 6th best start at the 509, just like Justin Olson and Weinstock. So,
but again,
509 again.
Maybe Marcus Sammer better on the long run in Altenburg last week, and Kilian Walch explosive here. Benny Meyer with good lines.
Olson had much better velocity, as my scoreboard's telling me. There's a little skid again out of wall, but so does everybody else. Meyer, the more experienced driver, with a huge lead over Olson. There's only 200s. How does it get out to be that much that quick?
Well, that shows that there is speed in the Austrian sled that there wasn't in the American sled right from the start of the run.
Yeah, speed, there's the 106 speed. He's pulling away now.
And where was this two-man sled from that he's driving?
The World Championship sled Francesco Friedrich drove last year in Koenigsegg.
There you go.
And this is a good, accomplished pilot. Did have a very good first run. This looks good.
Looks better, 143 is okay.
Not the good speed in the bottom, though.
Well, so he won't beat Olson by 3/10, but he'll beat him by 16.
It was 40 hundredths up there above the top of Horseshoe.
Takes the lead away from Latvia's Oskars Melbardis, the winner on this track 3 years ago. This has been a track where Benny Meyer has fared well in the last couple of seasons, hasn't it?
If we had an athletic contest between Meyer and Walsh and Olson and Weinstock, I'd bet a lot of money on Olson and Weinstock in the dryland training. I don't understand why the same start times. This is a little bit of a mistake by Benny Meyer, who's more of a four-man specialist. He's medaled on this track in four-man before. This is the uphill section between Portago and Martineau.
Rico Peter racing injured, broke his thumb, lowest joint on the thumb. He had a plate on it on Monday.
He's got a cast on.
Yeah, it's still really bruised and gnarly. He had to be helped out the sled by Seaman Friedrich.
He can't even grip the push bar.
And he also had a big gash, half a dozen stitches in his knee after the crash in Altenburg in the four-man race.
518 with a tap. His brakeman suffered a broken collarbone, and he's on the mend. Could be back in 3 or 4 weeks. A couple different physiotherapists have told us that, you know, the collarbone heals well if you, but then he can't train.
Yeah.
He can't lift. Yeah. Can't do the clean and jerks. So Rico
right now,
Peter,
he can barely run,
I would say this Rico Peter, who medaled on the track last year in PyeongChang in the pre-Olympic test, he's going to go into that Olympics with a wounded team.
Yeah, not least himself.
But good speed in the first heat. 1500s down, 106.4, best speed of anybody. 1500s, so probably go down at 9 or 10 here. 11. He's going to have to find the exact line. Be perfect down here, he's got a chance. Going to need 89 high mile-an-hour speeds. 144.2, 89.6, I don't know.
Fastest speed we've seen.
Close.
Oh, 500ths of a second.
Considering guy's wounded, driving with a hand with a broken thumb, Rico, you got my vote. Red badge of courage here.
Yeah. And again, Seaman Freely, the brakeman, will have to help him out because he can't put any weight on that right hand.
They're going to help him out of the slide. He can't put his weight down. Watch, look.
Yeah.
They're going to help. Look. Okay.
And look at the blood on his knee.
Look at blood on his knee. Yeah.
That's from last week's crash.
The stitches might have opened back up. This didn't help, but he took his medicine, hit the wall once. Look how low his eyes are. Then this is, you know, up top, Sonny to Nash and Dixon. That feathered that there pretty good. And then into the straightaway before horseshoe. Considering what you've been through, Rico, excellent.
11th off the feet, first heat in the two-man race here. Ugo Salems and Intas Dambis took a joint silver medal on this track 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was his come out of nowhere party.
Yep.
Couldn't believe it. 5'10", 5'11" in the first show. Look at the size. Look at the brakeman here. Can you see the brakeman? Can you see the guy at all? No. That's that air. Goes over the top of the sled, over the driver's helmet, and ejects out the back of the sled. The dirty air. The less dirty air you got, more cleaner you move through the wind. Sound. So much quieter than the artificial tracks.
Still in the green over Rico Peter, 1200ths of a second, but the gap's coming down.
No speed. This is going to go red numbers here pretty quick.
Doesn't have the speed of the Swiss City sled.
Got a 4, maybe. Hanging in there.
Let's see what he's got at the bottom. Needs 144 to be guaranteed of the lead.
Doesn't have it. 143.7, 89.3.
Gonna be close.
Fall back 1, 7, third, fall backs 2. Falls backs behind the Austrians too. Rico, nice work.
Well, that's good news for Benny Meyer. As he moves up a spot, Zalems drops 2. In fact, Zalems in front of Melbardis by 1400ths of a second. So the Latvians lying 3rd and 4th with 10 to go.
Gets on the right side, he should be on the left. Then he climbs in here, probably has to climb in here late, and he's low. Look at the rudder tips. See this? See the rudder tips come down? He probably had to steer more than he wanted. Didn't have 106 speed. Ooh, he got on there a little too early too, crossed over. Then it looks a little high there. This is down fast part of the track, bridge and tree.
3 years ago, Melbardis won, Zalems silver. They are 3rd and 4th with 10 to go in St. Moritz. Always a great sunny lookout here in St. Moritz, high in the Engadine Valley in the Swiss Alps.
The lake down there,
yep.
They're preparing the lake for the white turf.
Yep.
Polo, horse racing. They got a big speed skating event down there, one of the long distance speed skating events today. There's our leaders. Nice to see him in the winner's box.
See, Rico Peter can't even do a thumbs up because his thumb's broken and plated. Yeah, that's pretty grim.
Yeah,
and,
well.
Yeah, you see the padding around it. He had an operation on Monday to plate it. So he's fighting on through that injury.
How's the office look today?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. We got some big stories today in the women's race. Got some big stories today in the men's race as well. The Aussies making the cut on their very first ever World Cup start. And you can see here Roman Heinrich of France psyching himself up. Top 10 after the first heat. Really easing himself very firmly into a spot with the French Olympic team. We saw lots of red Russian jackets up at the top in the start, and those are Paralympians from their cross-country team who are out here doing some altitude training in St. Moritz. Not that kind of altitude, I guess, but what a day for flying. And it's even cooler up there than it is down on ground level.
Historic St. Moritz. If you haven't been here, you just won't believe it. I mean,
great viewing area at the top there, outside the bar, at the top of the cafe bar, at the top of the Dracula Club. Above the start area, looking down on the sleds and the preparation. And here's historic sunny corner. If you look at the pictures from the 28 and 48 games, the buildings are the same, the track's the same, the scenery's the same. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. A big day for France and for Roman Heinrich, a World Cup rookie. Jeremy Boutrin, 8 years of brakeman, has never raced in a two-man before, making his first ever two-man start there, 10th after the first heat. Heinrich, a former brakeman, a massive starter as well, and that's part of their advantage. They can get a neat start.
They took a lot, took too much of that 516. That's an experience. Made it run too far there. And look at the velocity, 55.5, 2 kilometers down, for example, to Justin Olson. That is going to be costly for this young French pilot who's got, it's his 5th World Cup start? Martin, 4th World Cup start.
Yeah, I'm just going to check. But it's only been a handful. He only started driving 2 seasons ago.
And he got 500 trips, he said, in 1 calendar year.
445 of them in La Plana.
Yeah, and 20 hundredths back. 106.2, though, is good speed. He'd get back into it. He doesn't want to drop. Right now, he's going to drop 4 places, 5 places. That was a rough transition there. He's holding. He stopped the bleeding. 20 hundredths to 20 hundredths. He might get this down into the teens and might only drop 2 spots instead of 5. 143.8. That's not very good. That is good speed. 89.3. 9th best time. 6th overall. He falls all the way back. But still, the French, that's a good day. With that mistake he made at the top of the track, this young pilot here,
this
young pilot,
5th World Cup start. He's done 3 this season, Winterberg, Innsbruck, Altenburg. He made his debut in Innsbruck last year in two-man as a driver.
And it's all about strategy at the start. Let's get in early. Let's get in early, be settled around the first curve. Is the brakeman in? Yeah, they're just getting in on the apex of the curve. And then he drives the middle of the curve. And now, what do you do now? And he's trying...
Yeah, the experience teaches you how to deal with that. First time here racing in St. Moritz in the front seat, he didn't know. And again, Snake just a little late onto the first part of Snake and paid the penalty. So he's in 6th position with 9 to go. That'll be his 2nd best result. Matthias Luthi, 9th place in the first heat with Krzysztof Tarkowski behind him. And Luthi, another one who's looking to seal an Olympic spot in the two-man competition. Well, Luthi's best result of the season, 10th last week in Altenburg.
Good speed, velocity there.
And he's in 9th place after the first heat. He has the lead over Rico Peter. Rico Peter was a massive 700ths of a second slower in the first run. So there's not much to play with for Matthias Luthi. Of course, Rico Peter with a decade more experience on this track than the Polish driver does.
Luthi's showing us from week to week that he's a very consistent driver.
100th in front out of Nash and Dixon, 100th behind out of Horseshoe.
105.8, that's not the 106 speed with Rico Peter out at the bottom. But that spot.
So Rico Peter will stay in the leader's box. Matthias Luthi at the moment maybe in a slot. Yeah, 700s cover the top 3.
+6 is going to be, boy, that's pretty good.
Going to be very close. Where's he going to finish at the line? He won't lead, but he is in 4th place. 1100s back. Nevertheless, 2nd best result of the season. And a good first run here in St. Moritz really adds to the confidence of the driver. Well, you prefer to go up in the 2nd heat rather than down, but nevertheless, you've got to look at the result.
He does better in the 4-man.
Take the positives. That's not bad in the 2-man race, though. Top 15 on the planet.
Yeah, on this track. Look at the eyes. Can we... Aerodynamic profile. Brakeman's tucked in there good in the high-speed part of the track.
Listen, the other thing to bear in mind is this is the last qualifying race before the Games. No one is missing. This is packed with every top 2-man driver on the planet, and he's still going to be top 15. For a tiny nation like Poland, that's a big deal. Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia, and he lies in 8th place. Start record for he and Mattis Miknis at 5:04 in the first heat, and they might go quicker.
Yeah, all these decathletes did here is 5:04 the first run. In, down, quick. Beautiful. 5 flat. Look at the brake pin. Already tucked in there perfectly. Look at the velocity. 57.8. No one's had that velocity. But that just erased a lot of it right there.
That's 3 or 4 hundredths of a second of a quicker start gone in that little skid.
Last year, the Latvians went 1-2 on this track in 4-man, which we'll see tomorrow. And this Kibermanis, the only athlete who won medals in both the 2 and the 4-man disciplines on the PyeongChang Olympic track last year in the pre-Olympic competition. 4 years ago, walking the streets of Latvia, they got him right into a front seat of a bobsled. 105.9 is not very good speed. And he has proven to be a very valuable entity in the Latvian program.
He is still 0.3 of a second ahead of Rico Peter. He was 9 hundredths ahead of him in the first heat.
He's not worried about Rico. He's worried about moving up. Speed, 89.3. Not as good as the Swiss. Still good enough to be the leader, though.
Takes the lead by 1/4 of a second, 105.60. That's 27 hundredths faster than his first run. Well, that's a big step forward. Don't forget, from him in 8th place up to 5th place was just 5 hundredths of a second.
And when you have that start advantage, it puts the pressure on everybody else to be, you know, perfect down below. This wasn't, he steered around there much like Kasanoff did. That was costly. That's worth 15 hundredths at least. Here, I always like to look at the runner tips. Can you see the runner tips right there? Not really a lot of turning there. Speed wasn't that great. That 105.9 should have been better with that start. But he's the leader, nonetheless.
7 to go. 3 Germans, 3 Canadians, and 1 Russian sled remain. And this is Chris Spring. Loaned his own sled, his regular 2-man sled, to his teammate Christina de Bruyne to help her qualify a 3rd sled for the games in the women's race, which she did.
5:14, same as they had in the first run for this guitar-playing driver who's Brakeman's a bass player.
Yeah,
look how low his eyes are.
Neville took 2 years off after Sochi to go back to school, get his qualifications, then came back at the beginning of last season for another crack at the games. And he and Spring have really put on the pressure on the others this year.
Neville from Edmonton.
And Springer 2nd in the World Cup rankings, winner in Whistler, silver medalist in Winterberg.
Going to need that 106 speed plus to have a chance. There's 106 flat, got a chance, but he's 11 hundredths down. Boy, Latvia didn't have that 106. Down to 10. Here he comes. Now he's going to need about 89.6 miles an hour.
Needs 144, 144 it is. He's in front of Kibermanis on the speed.
Right to the 100th.
Could take it at the line. No.
Kibermanis.
105.68.
Looks on. Still the Springer 2nd World Cup points. I don't know if he'll fall.
Well, Friedrich is yet to come, who's 3rd. Walter is yet to come, who's 4th. Kibermanis is 5th, won't overhaul him.
Wasn't much wrong with that run.
Well, you know, in a field of this quality, there doesn't have to be.
5:14 start.
Yep.
Kibermanis had a 5 flat start.
Yep.
That's where the race was won and lost between those two. This is in the snake combination, and then down here, this is the high-speed part of the track, and we heard a loud hit there. Now this is the uphill section of the track between Martineau and Pertago, and you're going uphill at 85 miles an hour. Springer.
Next up is Nick Polignato of Canada. 3rd fastest start with Lascelles Brown. Can they go quicker than 5:06 this time?
3rd best start, the first run. The 43-year-old ever-ready Energizer Bunny on the back. This guy is unbelievable. Speed should be 56.6. That's not very good velocity. Over a kilometer down in velocity compared to Kibermanis.
2nd fastest start of the competition.
Polignato, one of my rookies of the year last year, hasn't diminished his value. He's been competitive in every race he's been in.
Lost his first World Cup 2-man medal in Innsbruck. The cowl of the sled was judged to be 3 millimeters too narrow, so he lost the bronze.
But he's coming back, but no speed, 105.1. He hit before Horseshoe, and then was forced to go low in Horseshoe, didn't take advantage of the speed line. So that's where he lost the time, and now the question is, how is he going to fall back behind his teammate and keeper Mattis both?
Yep, third at the splits at the moment. Big gap back from Spring to
88.8,
Rico
not the same
Peter.
speed. 6th best time, falls 3 spots, 2 spots. Tied to the 100th with Rico Peter. So Rico Peter moved up in the top 10. And considering he's driving with one hand, he's got the stitches in the leg, that was pretty good.
Polignano, second year in the World Cup as a driver, having a good season.
Watch this tap here. This tap puts him over to the right side, makes him come in here, not get the height that he needs. Now look at the runner tips. He has to steer hard to get off. You steer hard, you know, you create friction. Friction, loss of speed. He was almost a half a kilometer down on the exit there.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. Love you guys.
Oskars Kiebermanis, the race leader, 15 sleds down, the remaining 5 to come in St. Moritz. 3 Germans, 3 Canadians, and 1 Russian in the top 7 sleds. The Russian, Alexander Stulnev with Ilya Malik. Off the 20th start, he somehow managed to come down 5th fastest.
Can't believe he'll stay here. He also started 17th. So he had a great start number. One of the most efficient start times. But he got 6th last week in Altenburg with the same setup. That was pretty quiet right there. 5:22 again. Velocity, 57 flat. He had better velocity with a terrible start compared to Chris Spring and Nick Polignano.
Well, he's clearly got some decent speed through the first couple of corners. Now, Oskars Kiebermanis was 500ths of a second slower in the first heat, so that's the tiny advantage that Stulnev brought.
The only chance he's got, Martin, is with high 106.7 speed to have a chance to overcome this deficiency. There's the 106.7 speed. And watch him eat into this. He'll get this down in maybe the teens of the next clock. He's got a chance. There's 14. Here he comes. What he did in the first heat wasn't a fluke. If he stays clean in the straightaway and gets the 90-mile-an-hour speed, he's got a chance. 90.3 miles an hour. Best speed of anybody all day. He's done it. I would have bet against it. Zubkov looks on like another day at the office for the Russians, but for the 20th best start time.
He got outstarted by 0.22 of a second, and he did a 1:05.60, exactly the same time as Oskars Kiebermanis. He holds on by his first run.
Best. Look at his relation here. It's his best heat of the year, best finish of the year in two-man. 22nd best start, but give him credit. Watch how quickly they get around the first curve.
Watch his head in the first corner.
Watch it.
You don't see it, but he dips down.
For the 20th best start, I bet you they have about the 9th or 10th best velocity. Yeah. So that's all the thing about getting in and getting around that first curve.
It's the only Russian sled that looks half quick. 4 to go in St. Moritz. The fan club waving for Johannes Lochner, last year's race winner with Christian Rust. He's got Christopher Weber behind him. They didn't get a very good load on their first start. See if they can tidy it up. 5:06 getaway.
He should get in quicker this time. He is. And a lot cleaner. 5:02. The velocity should be 57. 58. No one's had that. So now we'll see what the guy who won this race last year can overcome a bad first run and move up. Ooh, came off the wrong side of the exit wall. He's only 6,400ths up. That's...
Well, he was 2,400ths from the first heat.
But still 6,400ths,
yeah.
Wow.
And this is his shot for goal. Don't forget, the top 4 after the first heat covered by 0.08 of a second.
106.4. Should have better speed than that. Should have had up 106.8, 106.9. At 64, 66. So he stopped the acceleration point. Now he just gets to the bottom. Oh, that's a hard hit. There's a hard hit. 2 more. 58. You can see him losing all the time.
1:43.7 is not great.
The Russian at a 1 mile an hour faster. That's a track record. 1:05.27. 3,900s better than the first run, but didn't have the start problems, but that was not a clean ride down the track for this Berchtesgaden. Can't call him a rookie anymore.
No, definitely he's a four-man world champion.
Though.
Yes, they are happy with the start. 5:02. Christopher Weber on the back, Hansi Lochner in the front.
Okay, watch this hard hit. Bang! That's the hardest hit we've seen of any sled in this heat. That's up in the bridge curve, the exit. And then here, little ping pong down on the speed part of the track. That's why he lost the 6,900s, came back to only be ahead by 4,900s at the bottom.
Is it enough for a medal? It was a huge run. One Canadian and two German sleds remain. Germany's Johannes Lochner, last year's winner, leads the race. Justin Cripps, the points leader in two-man. Next up, bronze medal position after the first heat.
5:05 in the first run. Jesse Lumsden in the back. One of the best.
First win of the
get down quickly.
First win of the season came last week in Altenburg.
Nice. 5:03. Excellent. 57. 57.7. Almost what Lochner had. Lochner, though, went only 100th better there. But had 0.3 of a kilometer better velocity.
Cripps was 200ths of a second quicker than Lochner over the first run.
Same line as Lochner there on the exit of wall. Ooh, looks like he abrupt transition onto the sunny. Red numbers.
A 10th behind.
But Lochner didn't have the 106.8 speed. Oh, he's low there.
Well, he needs 8 speed at the bottom, 106 flat. That's not enough. He's going to fall out of the medals.
1600s. Now the question is, second. Still could get 90-mile-an-hour speed, but not with that hit. 144.2, 89.6. Good speed for Cripps. This won't hurt it. Ooh, 105.48. There's a medal for the Berchtesgaden guy. 1600's better run. Good start. Don't think is up top. Look at the...
Well, that run through Snake wasn't great, and that cost him time in Sunny. He didn't have the line he wanted out of Nash and Dixon for Horseshoe, that low line in Horseshoe, and look at the start.
sled come up there.
Yeah.
That's just too much energy going up. It's about going out.
And Jesse having to guide it back into the grooves.
Watch this here. Watch the head snap here. Look at this. See the way? He got on there too early. Yeah, crossed over with too much, and then there was a hard hit here. And it's so easy for us to sit here and criticize. But Cripps, the World Cup leader, I think he'll still stay in that position.
Yeah, I think he will. He's 70 points ahead of Francesco Friedrich, who comes last. Nico Walter, though, second place after the first heat. 400ths away. Won the season opener, and then bronze medal in Altenburg, his home track last week. Kevin Kuska in the black jacket watching on will make his final World Cup appearance tomorrow in the four-man, he told me.
Okay, this was the king of speed, not at the start, but at the bottom. 5:13.
Okay.
Well, okay.
500's quicker.
Yeah,
got to take that.
Velocity 57.5. This was the king of speed on the bottom part of the track in the first run. This former luge athlete, he can drive. He gives up time to his other German teammates, but now he's got to make no mistakes. That's the problem with deficient start times. A lot of pressure on your eyes and your hands.
The only German in the medals 2 years ago took silver in the Europeans here, bronze in the World Cup race with Christian Poser.
Watch out for the high 106 speed. 8 down, 107. No one set the mark, just like the first run.
This development FES sled is absolutely flying.
This is what he did in the first run, overcame the start deficiency.
If he gets clean out of tree, not bad. Down the straight.
Down the straight, watch out for the speeder. 146, 90.8.
He's going to lead. Is it enough for gold? He'll take the lead from Hansi Lochner.
Wow, 5,200's better.
That's 4,800's quicker than the first run.
He is the best driver of the three, gives up time at the start. Listen.
Dreitzein, a 13 start, good high line.
Look at the runner tips, quiet, exit, and then goes into the speed part of the track. Look at this, perfect lines. No one's at 107-kilometer speed except for Nico Walter, so he's our speed merchant of the day.
And 146 down the bottom as well. Fastest sled we've seen.
90.8 miles an hour.
Francesco Friedrich won his first senior world championship here in 2013, has not won since.
Well, 5:06 in the first run. Watch how quickly this Marcus gets in behind him, and 499. Should be 58, 57.5. Not as good a velocity as we've seen.
57.5.
Lochner had better velocity.
Yeah, Walter was 57.5. Lochner 58 kilometers an hour there. Walter leads, Lochner second. Friedrich the last man on the ice with a slender lead courtesy of that start. 23 hundredths. Now he's building the advantage. He was only 4 hundredths ahead after the first heat. Ooh,
not good.
Wrong side going into horseshoe, medium line. He was right up by the woodwork.
High 106, he's got that. So he might lose a couple hundredths back the next clock. This is going to go right to the 100th of a second here at the bottom, but I think he's got enough in the tank if he doesn't hit hard here.
It was 4 hundredths in the first heat. Will it be even closer? Doesn't hit hard at all. Oh, huge skid! And that could cost him the gold medal. 146 for Nico Walter, 143. Walter's going to win it. He does win it. Nico Walter wins in St. Moritz.
It's never over till it's over.
Oh,
so,
boy.
No one.
Germany sweep the podium. I repeat, Germany sweep the podium. I've got results going back to 2007 Worlds, and that has not happened in a dozen years plus. Wow.
Francisco Friedrich was his race to lose, and he lost it in the super speedway part of the track. And trust me, he's also from Saxony.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like losing.
No, he doesn't.
At all to Nico Walter, his teammate. Start was good. Should have been better velocity, though. Let's watch it go around the first curve. How much did he take?
Oh, he took a lot of that
first curve and that tap. That was the difference in the bottom right there. And then this didn't help the efforts either. Boy, but he could have got away with that if he didn't tap up there out of curve one.
Or the tap if he didn't have the skid. Yeah, one or the other, he could have survived both. Yeah. Well, he came down 9 hundred slower than Nico Walter and only had 4 in the tank.
Jesse Lumsden,
Justin Cripps 4th, Alexei Stulnev 5th, and Oskar Kiebermanis in 6th position. For Stulnev, 5th position, his best result of the year. And Nico Walter, the winner in the season opener in 2-man in Lake Placid. Bronze last week at home, gold. Again, what? Where? What? What's he looking for? Well,
looking for the champagne.
Okay, well, come on, wait your turn. Got to do the flowers first. Well, what a dramatic end to the race. Francesco Friedrich had the tiny margin of 4 hundredths of a second and just couldn't hold on to it. But Germany go 1, 2, 3. So Friedrich, the 2013 world champion on this track in 2-man, right in the center of your shot. Just a quick shot there of Hans Hildebrand, one of the legendary Swiss drivers and sled builders.
Multiple world champion here in this track in 82 and 87.
Many famous faces you see around this venue. And Nico Walter, well, he came from behind, if you can call 4 hundredths behind, I guess you do. Christian Poser.
5 hundredths more at the start.
Yeah, that was important. That gave them what they needed.
But this video game line he had coming down this fastest track in Europe, the second fastest track to Whistler, but he flew both runs. He hit 2 home runs.
90.8 miles an hour into the final corner. Imagine turning into a corner at 90 miles an hour in a car. Nico Walter wins by 5 from Francesco Friedrich, 21 ahead of Hansi Lochner, and then Cripps, Stulnev, Kiebermanis rounding out the top half dozen. Chris Spring in 7th ahead of Nick Polagnato, tied with Rico Peter, and then Benny Meyer rounding out the top 10. Well, a fantastically exciting 2-man contest in beautiful St. Moritz, and Nico Walter trumps them all. The final World Cup qualifier of the season then is done, and from here on the teams will be decided by the coaches on various national and international qualifying criterion. And there's no question at all that Germany will get 3 sleds in the contest for the two-man race. Ditto for Canada, and it looks certain for the USA as well. For 2 sleds, we think probably Latvia, Switzerland, Russia, Austria, and then who knows, China maybe, Brazil perhaps as well. Can be very interesting to see how it all shapes up. There's Jamie Grubel-Poser, didn't finish on the podium in the women's race. Husband Christian takes the gold medal with Nico Walter. And lots of sunshine still high in the Engadine Valley as the fans mill around and go and find another coffee that they can probably ill afford. Well, lots and lots of teams watching their 2-man sleds as they get ready the 4-man race tomorrow. White-haired Hans Hildebrand there walking away from us in the cowboy hat, by the way, head of the Belgian Federation. And they are very pleased to have qualified both their sleds into the women's contest. And in the women's field, Germany with 3 sleds, and Canada with 3 sleds as well. USA get 2, Russia 2, Austria 2, Belgium 2. In singleton entries, 1 guaranteed for Korea, Great Britain, Switzerland, and Jamaica also earning a spot, we believe, today. Well, there's 4-time world champion and junior world champion Francesco Friedrich, today's silver medalist. Bright blue skies and a golden sun here in St. Moritz. Justin Cripps leads the World Cup rankings. Silver medal here moves Francesco Friedrich just ahead of Chris Spring into 2nd. Oskars Kiebermanis lies in 4th place. And we head to Koenigsegg in Bavaria for the final race weekend. Cripps looking as though he is likely to tie up the crystal globe for the 2-man competition. But it was all about the Germans in the final decider. Last year's winner, Johannes Lochner, Francesco Friedrich, the world champion here in 2013, and Nico Walter stepping up from the bronze 2 years ago to beat his teammates and take the gold medal here. 400ths off the lead from the first heat, and a man who seems to be even more comfortable in a 4-man wins here in St. Moritz, the most historic of all tracks, leading the German clean sweep of the podium. So in the blue hat on the right, Francesco Friedrich. On the far left was Hansi Lochner, and there in the centre with a big smile, Nico Walter. It's Germany 1, 2, 3 in the 2-man competition. I don't know what the Olympic odds are, but suddenly the Germans are looking even stronger than before. Well, that's it from the 2-man competition from St. Moritz. 4-man on Sunday before we head to Koenigsegg, Bavaria, and the final race weekend before the Olympic Games. For John Morgan, the IBSF TV crew, I'm Martin Haven saying thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow for 4-man next week in Koenigsegg for the remainder of the 2-man competition.